Clock Tower: The First Sphere is probably one of the more obscure games in my collection. It was originally released only in Japan, but it did receive several fan translation patches over the years. Then to make things more confusing, the second, third, and fourth entry in the series were released in English, but referred to as Clock Tower 1, 2, and 3, which left the existence of the true first entry unknown to many. But then WayForward Studios, perhaps most well known for the Shantae series, released a remaster of the first game titled Clock Tower Rewind, offering both a classic and rewind mode which offers various enhancements and quality of life features. So I figured I'd give my original PS1 version one final playthrough, but this time with retro achievements enabled. Now, as of the time of this recording, Clock Tower Rewind still hasn't released, but this video should still serve as a proper guide. If there's any major differences, I'll pin it in the comments, and if it ends up being so different that it needs a separate video, then I'll go ahead and make that. Drawing inspiration from the 1985 movie Phenomena, you play as Jennifer Simpson. Her father, Dr. Walter Simpson, goes missing one day, and then her mother passes away shortly after. After spending some time in an orphanage, she and several of her friends are all adopted. Mary Barrows arrives to escort them to their mansion in the mountains of Romsdal in Norway on September 14, 1995, which is the game's original release date on the Super Nintendo. Upon arrival, Mary says she'll be right back to grab Simon Barrows, but takes a long time to return. After a discussion with Laura, Anne, and Lot, short for Charlotte, Jennifer decides that she'll go looking for Mary. But then everyone else disappears. If you select Quick Start on the menu, then this is the exact point where you start on a new game. This game is part point-and-click adventure and part hide-and-seek. You'll continue to explore the mansion on your own, and then you'll eventually encounter one of 3 initial death scenes. Either Anne in the courtyard, Laura in the shower, or Anne through the ceiling. All 3 scenes have an achievement for witnessing it, and then you have to find a place to run and hide from Scissorman. And then after you're successful, you'll embark on your journey to discover the secrets of the mansion in one of 9 different endings. Then in addition to the basic point-and-click interactions, you also have a panic meter, indicated in the bottom left. If you're in a situation such as being attacked, you can mash the panic button to escape. But the lower your health is, the less likely you'll be able to get to safety. And even running can lower your health. So to restore it, stand still in a safe area, and Jennifer will kneel to calm herself down. And speaking of safe area, a lot of the items that you'll need to interact with can't be done so while you're actively being chased. So with the basics covered, the game itself isn't too long, but making an actual guide is going to be a challenge. Navigating the mansion itself has a bit of a learning curve due to the perspective, and then some room and item locations are going to be randomized on each playthrough. Then there's a number of other factors that influence events and endings, so the way I'm going to go about it is to break it down by progression flags, then do room by room explanations, and then finally an endings guide. We've already covered the first major story progression by witnessing one of the first 3 death scenes and then successfully hiding for the very first time. But then the moment you start a brand new game, you're going to be given either the idol route or the staff route, which is what item you need to eventually access the caves. The demon idol route is much easier and preferred, but you will occasionally need the staff route for various achievements. Aside from that though, the item that you need has no other impact on the story or ending. But the factors that do determine your ending will be between Laura and Anne, who is still alive, did you discover Mary's evil intentions, and if so, how? Have you discovered how to defeat Scissorman? Did you free the crow? And what floor did you select in the elevator? But with the overview done, let's go through every single room. In the starting foyer on a quick start, there's nothing else you can do afterwards to progress the story, but there is an achievement. Later on, when Scissorman is chasing you, running all the way back here can cause 2 chandeliers to fall. So leaving the starting room, we have what I refer to as Main Hallway 1. We'll skip this corridor entrance for now and then enter the first door into the living room. The TV will sometimes turn on its own, and the painting will sometimes cry blood. Then this box up here is the first thing I check on every playthrough, because sometimes it contains the West Wing key, and sometimes it contains nothing. Then the next room over, the master bedroom, can be accessed from either the hall or the living room. The dresser contains perfume, which is needed for most of the game's endings, so it's always the second room that I visit. Then you also have multiple achievements tied to this room too. If you look into the mirror, there's a chance that your reflection will attack you. You also get an achievement for examining the photo on the mirror, revealing Dan and Bobby Barrows, Bobby being Scissorman. Then you have the parrot, who snitches on you if you hide from Scissorman under the bed, and attacks you if you let it out. But you can trap it under the blanket, allowing you to hide successfully later and then earn an achievement. Next room down the hall is the bathroom. The sink will occasionally pour out either blood or maggots, and seeing both in a single game session will get you an achievement. Also, if you see the steam in the room, it means you'll witness Laura's death if you open the shower curtain. You can also hide in the bathroom later on for an achievement, but this escape route doesn't always work. And now we'll go back and talk about this hallway here, where you can find a rock within the rubble and use it to smash the wall to create a path to the courtyard. If you enter the courtyard first, you can witness Anne's drowning, or on a separate Scissorman chase, you can escape from him by climbing through the hole in the wall for an achievement. But back to main hallway 1, continue left past the bathroom door, and you'll be in the second foyer. And if you haven't yet encountered either of the other 2 death scenes, this is where you'll see Anne fall through the ceiling. And since there's a staircase and multiple doors in this room, for now we'll just continue left, and then you'll eventually make your way into the kitchen. In the fridge you'll find some ham, which can save your life depending on your route choices, and then here in the cabinet you can examine it twice to take a drink, which can either restore your panic meter or knock you out, causing you to awaken in a jail cell in the courtyard. And then last but definitely not least, you have the freezer in the back. Opening it will cause insects to attack you, but if you find the insecticide and use it, you'll find a gold key in the freezer, which opens up the lounge back in the second foyer. And then leaving the kitchen and continuing left, you have the garage. And there's two different hiding spots from Scissorman here. You can either hide inside of the car, or climb up and knock down the ladder. You can also find the car key in this box. You can in fact drive the car to escape, which is tied to both endings G and H. Or if you come back here after all of your friends have already died, the car will be gone, netting you an achievement. Heading back to the second foyer, we'll head upstairs and then continue to the left door on the bottom. All the way at the end of the hall, there's a nest and then a box that you can push to it. If you didn't get the west wing key inside the master bedroom, then you'll find it here instead. And while there's only a single room in this part of the hallway, it's a really important one, the closet room. The rope is used to open up a rare escape route for an achievement, more on that later, and then you have the insecticide, which is used to get the gold key in the kitchen. Then after failing to climb up here, you can push the box over and then climb over to open up the chest. And this is one of the two locations where you can find the robe, which is needed for most endings. You also have two separate escape achievements in this room too, one for climbing back here and hiding, and the other for spraying Bobby with the insecticide. And to clarify, whether or not the insecticide is in your inventory makes no difference as to whether or not you can perform this escape, because there's two bottles in the room. But after using this escape route, make sure to not stay in too long afterwards or else you'll suffocate. Returning back to the second foyer, we then have these two doors here, which is going to be your first set of randomized rooms. The first possibility is that it's the lounge, requiring the gold key from the kitchen. By examining the wine glass, you'll find the silver key, which opens up the mural room. And then if you examine the suit of armor, you'll trigger one of the optional death scenes. Laura will be found inside it if you didn't witness her shower scene. But depending on the ending or achievement that you're going for, you may or may not want to ever trigger this cutscene. And if you didn't find the robe in the closet room, you can find it in this room instead. Additionally, Mary will sometimes spawn in the room as well. If you haven't yet discovered her evil intentions, then she'll drug you and then throw you in the jail cell. But if you have discovered her intentions, she'll just stab you instead. And then in the off chance that she appears when you didn't want her to, you can click continue to reload the room until you get an instance without her. And then the second room that can appear here is going to be the mural room, which requires the silver key in the previously mentioned lounge. And then the mural room is going to be where you learn about how to access the caves through the chapel. Be aware that the game is very particular about what boxes you actually click on. After examining the mural, if you can push over the bookcase, then at this point you know that you have the staff route. Otherwise you'll have to learn about the demon idol in a different room, the library specifically. And then at the end of the mural room, these books here will teach you about Scissorman's weakness and how you can defeat him by flipping the switches of the clock tower. From here on out, I'll be referring to this flag as learning the secrets of the clock tower, and if you don't learn about the secrets of the clock tower either here or from load in the caves, then you're locked into F ending at best. So then heading out and going upstairs, this room here will be whichever of the two previously mentioned rooms that you didn't get before. Which means that some of you may have noticed a basic exploration order unfold right in front of you. Living room, master bedroom, closet, kitchen, lounge, and the mural room. And then at this point, because you're going to have the west wing key no matter where it spawned, we can talk about these two doors here. Whether you're on the first or second floor, these two doors lead to what's commonly referred to as the scream hallways, because if you witness Laura's death scene in the shower, there's a chance that you'll hear Anne scream whenever you enter this room. And then under normal circumstances, the game and achievement don't consider her to actually be dead unless you look out the window and see her get thrown out. But with the PlayStation 1 version, there's a glitch where simply hearing the scream marks her as dead. Which means that specifically for the PlayStation 1 version, if you're trying to get an achievement or an ending where you need her to be alive and you hear her scream, you just have to keep reloading the last room over and over until you can finally cross the hallway without hearing her scream. And it sucks. But moving on from that ordeal, on the first floor of the scream hall you have this door here, and there's a good chance that if you interact with it, it's going to be blocked. But if you go to the courtyard through the smashed wall, you can push this box and create a shortcut between the two rooms. And while we're focused on the courtyard, let's talk about the entrance to the jail room. If applicable, this is where you'll meet Simon Barrows. And Simon is one of the two sources where you learn about what's called the Cradle Under the Star, which is needed for all but two of the endings. When you get locked up with Simon, if you don't have the ham from the kitchen or you forget to feed him before trying to talk to him, he'll eat you instead. Then as far as escaping the jail cell goes, there's two main methods, one of which involving rooms that we haven't gone over yet, but if you get the lantern in the fireplace room after witnessing Anne getting thrown out the window, and then use the lantern to grab a key in the library, you can escape on your own for an achievement. But in almost every situation, you're not going to have that key on hand, so instead Lot will show up to save you. And then she'll get murdered shortly afterwards. Then with Mary coming after you next, your first instinct is probably going to be to hide in this box, but that's not going to work. So instead, you're going to have to grab the board and whack Mary with it instead. And then, needless to say, between getting captured by Mary and then having to knock her unconscious to prevent her from shooting you, the game now considers you to have learned about Mary's evil intentions. But moving on for now, we're going to head back to the Scream hallway and then head all the way down to the new area, and I like to call these locations Main Hallway 2, Floors 1 and 2. If you head all the way to the left here, you're going to have your next set of randomized rooms, where the room on the first floor is going to be one of two locations, and then whichever of the two rooms you didn't encounter on the first floor is going to be on the second floor instead. So the first room it could be is going to be the trophy room, aka the taxidermy room. By examining this jar and watching it fall, you'll get an achievement, and then by turning off the lights and heading all the way to the end of the room, you'll find a dagger. Open the wardrobe to find... and then defeat the mummy with the dagger to find the cage key. In the off chance you're playing the Super Nintendo version instead, you'll find the cage key in the same room as the cage instead. And then moving on, the second room that this could be is the mannequin room, which is completely useless. At best you'll find nothing, and then at worst you'll find Bobby. So now we're going to focus on Main Hallway 2, Floor 1 for a bit, and this is where the randomization is going to mess with you a bit if you're a new player. You're going to find an entrance to a collapsed hallway which is of no use to you so you can ignore it, and then of the remaining 5 doors, only one room is in a constant location and the other 4 are randomized. The second room from the left is going to be the chapel, which requires a key in the room directly above it. Then once you have the ceremony knowledge, know about the cradle under the star, and then have either the demon idol or the staff, you can then open up the passageway between the chapel and the caves and then start the final arc of the game. But we'll revisit that in a bit. The other 4 rooms in this hall can either be the cage room, the second bathroom, the second bedroom, or the library, while the room furthest to the right can also have the music room added into that mix. The cage room is simple enough, you can free the crow with the hutch key that you got from the mummy, or if you're playing the Super Nintendo version, it'll just be here on the counter. If you free the crow, you can run back here later while being chased by Bobby, and you'll get an escape for an achievement. And fun fact, this is actually the escape opportunity that Jennifer gets in the manga. While you're in this room, you have the option to free the rats too, but it has no impact on the game whatsoever. So it's basically just a Super Metroid Save the Animals moment. The next possible room it can be is going to be the second bathroom, which is of no real use. Sometimes a cat will jump out of the box, which is a retro achievement, but that's it. Option 3 is the library, which is important if your route needs the demon idol, because you're going to learn about it from a bookshelf in here before being able to find it in a statue upstairs. Also, if you found the lantern in the fireplace room, which still hasn't been covered yet, you can look into this hole in the library wall to find the green key, which is how you can escape from the jail cell on your own for an achievement. And then option 4 is going to be the second destroyed bedroom, and outside of hiding under the bed for an achievement, there's nothing else of note in here. And then exclusive to the far right room on this floor, you can sometimes find the music room. If you're on the staff route, then checking behind this curtain here will reveal it in the Celadon vase, but if you're on the idol route, Bobby will pop out instead. Additionally, playing the piano can sometimes cause Bobby to drop down and chase you too. And we're almost done with the main rooms now. Moving on to Main Hallway 2, Floor 2, only one room in this group of 5 has any randomization to it. First room on the left can sometimes be the alternate location for the music room, or it can end up being the library, second bathroom, or second bedroom. The second room is going to be the child's room, which is very important. After examining the doll in the box, you're going to find the ceremony key, needed to unlock the chapel and in turn the caves. After grabbing the key, either the French doll or the clown doll is going to attack you, so make sure you're not low on health as you're mashing the panic button. Then connected to both the hallway and the child's room is going to be the fireplace room, which is only going to be of any use to you if you witnessed Anne's death through the window. Because if you did witness it, then you're going to find the lantern here, which is used to grab the jail key in the library and then escape from the jail on your own. And then witnessing the scene also means that the window is going to remain broken, so you can escape from Scissorman by jumping through it into the water for an achievement. And then the final 2 rooms on Main Hallway 2, Floor 2 are going to require you to cross this gap in the floor. If you both have the rope in your inventory and you're actively being chased by Scissorman, you can jump the gap on your own and then later rappel down from the statue for one of the rarest escapes and in turn one of the rarest achievements. But under normal exploration circumstances, you're just going to examine the gap and then examine the board to create a bridge. But if you're being chased by Scissorman after creating the bridge, you can actually run across and then remove the board for another escape-based achievement. Don't worry about the sealed off wall for now, you're instead going to notice a bunch of statues. And if you're on the idol route and you obtain the relevant knowledge from the library, you'll find the demon idol in the statue here. Then when you enter this final room on the right, you're going to encounter either a cat or Scissorman. But if it's the latter, at least you have a nearby escape route by removing the floorboard. Then by pushing the crates, you'll find a breakable wall which you can smash with a nearby pipe. And this is going to take you to the secret room which was sealed off from the hallway. And this is the second location where you can learn about the cradle under the star from the note left behind by Jennifer's formerly missing father. Additionally, the letter in this room is also another way to learn about Mary's evil intentions. Needless to say, between Walter and Simon, you can only encounter one and that'll despawn the other. So with every main room covered in the mansion, we can now talk about the caves. After you get the ceremony key from the child's room, the ceremony knowledge and either the staff or idol, you can unlock the passage into the caves. As you climb down, you'll see a robed figure walk off. You'll follow and then eventually a dog will stop you. Equip both the perfume and the robe, and then you'll be able to sneak past the dog. But for some unknown reason, Jennifer decides to discard these items as soon as she sneaks past, making this a point of no return for you. Optionally, if you continue all the way to the right, and if Loeb didn't die after freeing you from the jail cell, she'll instead die here, and she'll teach you about the secret of the clock tower. If you're going for the F ending, then make sure you don't witness this scene. Enter this passage, and then head all the way down the long path to the right into the next room, where you'll very briefly meet Dan Barrows. Before running away and then mashing the panic button to climb up, you'll knock a container of gasoline down and then kill it with fire. Turn back and head out through here, and then a brief cutscene will play implying that Dan survives. Then in this final passage in the caves, you'll find the elevator. You can't access it until after defeating Dan, and the floor that you select plays a crucial role in the ending that you'll receive. Which means that finally we're at the endings guide, starting with endings G and H. Both of these are the car escapes, and the only determining factor is that between Laura and Anne, have one of them died or have both died. So for ending G, witness Laura's shower scene, head all the way left to the garage, hide in the car, grab the car key, and then use the key on the car repeatedly to drive off, before encountering Bobby in the back seat. Now, at least for the PlayStation 1 version, in order to get an ending to register in the endings list, you have to overwrite your save. But even after doing so, continue will still load you in the last room, and this is one of the few moments where you can take advantage of that. So after obtaining the G ending and overwriting your save, select continue, hide from Bobby again, grab the car key, and head out to the Scream hallway to witness Anne's death scene from the first or second floor. Then head back to the garage and drive off for ending F. This time Jennifer will make it back to the orphanage, but she'll pass away mysteriously 3 days later. Then for the remaining endings, you're going to be following the same general pattern of getting the West Wing key, perfume, robes, insecticide, ham, gold key, silver key, ceremony key, and then learn about the ceremony to use a staff or idol to enter the caves. Then from there, endings D, E, and F deceptively have most of the same criteria, to the point where you can use the continue mechanics for the PlayStation 1 version here too. But you specifically have to go in the order of F, then E, then D, or else your continue will be in the wrong spot and you'll have to start over from a new game. Grab the West Wing key, cologne, and robe, but make sure you don't learn about Mary's intentions, don't learn how to defeat Scissorman from the clock tower switches, and don't let Loeb die yet. Proceed through the game like normal, and then when you make it to the caves, once again make sure you don't witness Loeb's death scene in the caves yet. Defeat Dan and then head into the elevator, but because you never learned about the secret of the clock tower, you'll get the anticlimactic ending F where Bobby kills you before you can even select a floor. So then your continue screen will take you to the room before the elevator, head back and then witness Loeb's death scene, and then turn back and head into the elevator. And now that you know the secret of the clock tower from Loeb, you can select floor 2 or 3. Selecting floor 3 will give you ending E, which is relatively similar to ending F, except you'll actually witness Scissorman drop in through the elevator. And then after saving, your continue will bring you back to the elevator where you can select floor 2 on the path for ending D, which once again is fairly anticlimactic. Since you never learned about Mary's evil intentions, you'll encounter her and then she'll stab you. Thankfully, endings C through S all have some semblance of a happy ending, but you won't be able to use the continue trick from here on out. The main criteria for ending C are that you have to learn about Mary's intentions, learn about the secret of the clock tower, and then take the elevator to the second floor. After fending off Mary, the game wants you to go to the left, but you can get the Manor Explorer achievement by heading right instead. And this is the only ending where you can obtain it because every other ending requires you to go to the third floor. After getting it, head all the way back to the left, and then go through the chase sequence, climb up the clock tower, kick Mary off the ladder, and then flip the switches for ending C, aka the first ending where you actually survive. For obtaining ending B, you have to witness both Laura and Anne die. Then you learn about Mary's intentions, learn about the secret of the clock tower, and take the elevator to the third floor. You'll defeat Bobby from flipping the switches, and then Mary will sneak up behind you. You'll fend her off, and then she'll fall into the generator and get electrocuted before the ending credits roll. Then both ending A and S have almost the same requirements, the big difference being where you learn about the cradle under the star. For A, you have to learn it from Simon Barrows in the jail cell, while for S, you have to learn about it from your father in the secret room. But aside from that, both endings require either Anne or Laura to be alive at the end of the game, and there's an achievement for both. And then you also have to save the crow, learn about Mary, and learn about the clock tower before taking the elevator to the third floor. For ending A, you'll flip the switches to defeat Bobby, and then whichever partner survives will come out to reunite with Jennifer, only to get thrown off the ledge by Mary, and then she's attacked by the crows since you opened the cage earlier. They knock her off the ledge, and then the credits roll. And then with ending S, your partner will instead be unconscious on the ground, Mary will sneak up behind you and begin to choke you, and then after you fend her off, the crows will attack her. This is the only good ending where at least one partner survives, but you don't have to get the S ending twice for both of these survival achievements because you can obtain it on an easier bad ending. But as nice as it is to see at least one other person survive in the credits on the S ending, it likely isn't canon because Clock Tower 2 suggests that only Jennifer and Dan survived. And if you were to personally consider the manga as a valid source, then you witness both Laura's shower scene and Anne's window scene. And then the wiki suggests that C is the canon ending because Jennifer learns Dan's name, which is referenced in the sequel. On a final note, the Demon Idol route is considered the canon one because that's featured in Clock Tower 2. But now it's time for the Retro Achievement set review. The game and achievement set are much shorter than it seems. It took me 2 sessions to complete it all, and it took way more time to think out how to write out this guide than it did to actually beat the game. Does the achievement set make a distinction between completing a game versus mastering it? Not necessarily. I'd say that you've reasonably mastered the game if you unlocked every single ending. But where the set shines is that it teaches you things about the game that you may have never experienced otherwise. 2 events that I never experienced before taking on this set were escaping from the jail on your own and using the rope to rappel down from the 2nd floor. So rather than being a set of additional challenges, it's a set that makes you experience everything that the game has to offer, and in that regard, it does a great job of it. At a glance, perhaps it is a bit odd that the PS1 version offers less retro achievement points than the Super Nintendo version, but I'm not going to bother nitpicking over imaginary internet points. On a final note, because this game is a bit cryptic for newcomers, the achievement structure really helps with that and mitigates one of the biggest deterrents for a casual player getting into this series, and therefore I strongly believe that this game with achievements is a better way to play it. And again, because I recorded this before Rewind came out, if there are enough differences that I need to make a new guide, I'll do so. But for now, I hope you all have a wonderful day.